Yes, you're actually hearing me. I did it. I'm putting out my podcast. It's your girl, Mel G, and welcome to Low Key Thriving, the podcast for real talk for millennials figuring it out. Because life isn't always perfect. And honestly, who has time for that? Low Key Thriving is your podcast for us millennials juggling the messy middle of adulthood, parenting, marriage, careers, and that never ending quest to stay sane in a world that honestly expects way too much of us. Think of this as your Oprah meets Ricky Lake. We're going to have those heart to hearts about the stuff that really matters. Pause there for a second and let's say that again, louder for the people in the back. Heart to hearts about stuff that really matters. Now, I'm going to mix this with, that unfiltered honesty that I've been finding in myself, humor, and I am hoping to build the kind of community that reminds you you're not alone in this. Whether we're tackling those tough conversations, celebrating small wins, or just trying to make it through another school drop off without completely losing our shit, this podcast is your low key reminder that thriving doesn't have to look perfect. New episodes drop twice a month, with mini episodes in between for quick, relatable doses of real life wisdom. And honestly, sometimes just surviving is actually thriving, low key. Okay, I'm so excited to be here talking with y'all. I feel like this has been years in the making. So now you kind of know what low key thriving is about, what kind of vibe it's throwing. Let me break it down for you. Low key thriving is what? It's all about succeeding in life, but without that need for the flashy, over the top validation or showing off. It's thriving on your own terms, quietly building a life you love, even if it doesn't look perfect on the outside. It's about prioritizing what matters, focusing on your family, your mental health, your career, and happiness without chasing society's version of success. It's about embracing the messiness, knowing you're doing great even when it feels chaotic or unpolished. It's about living authentically, staying true to yourself instead of performing for social media or trying to seek that outside approval. It's the vibe of saying, yeah, I'm actually doing pretty great, but I don't need to scream about it. Now, that part is a little difficult for me. This is my journey of exploring all of this. I am learning as I'm going through this with you. Now, let me kind of define what a millennial is. A millennial is somebody born between the years of 1980 and 1996. I fall in the 1989 category year. Now, there's that comedian, Liza Schlesinger, and I may be saying that completely wrong. I'm so sorry. But, anyways, if you haven't seen her bit on elder millennials, I can really, really relate to that. The elder millennials are like the early to mid 40s. I really don't fit there. I'm 36, right? So I'm like right on the cusp. But I grew up with sisters who aren't millennials. I think they're Gen Zers. Um, but anyways, my two older sisters were 10 and 11 years older than me, so I feel like I relate to them more, and I feel like I have a bit of an older soul too, so I've always hung out with the older crowd. Anyways, I really relate to the elder millennials. I feel like there's a weird gap between the elder millennials and the regular millennials. The elder seem to have a little bit more common sense, a little more tame, while, us regular millennials are wild, a little feral. If you know, you know. But yeah, I relate to both, but I lean towards the elder side, the geriatric side. Ooh. So now that you've got the breakdown, let me kind of share with you why I'm starting this. And this kind of stemmed from talking to my dad a few years ago and just talking to him about how the times have changed so much. Now, my parents are in their 70s, right? Earlier 70s. I grew up with older parents, and I just told my dad, y'all went through some shit. My mom is German. Um, she lived through like the Berlin Wall, so when Germany was actually like separated. Um, so they've lived through all of that. My dad lived through Jim Crow, Vietnam era, being going through the draft, all that stuff. Now, I'm not downplaying that. That's history, right? We all know it was rough. They've been through some things. They've seen some things. Now, what I did talk to my dad, while I'm sitting in their apartment and they've got Fox News in the background, which is a 24/7 thing in the Williams apartment, is just how much it's changed. We have, and our children have, if you've got children, or this next generation, has everything at their fingertips. We can Google it. We can pull up our phones. We can find it. We've got AI to generate it. We've got AI to tell us where to find the answers. There's not much searching that needs to be done. There's no treasure hunting. There's no gathering with community. It's just there for us. It just gives you the answer, right? Even our calculators just spits out the answer. We can switch to a scientific calculator within a millisecond. And talking with my dad, I just said, it's so hard to try and be a wife, to try and be a successful woman of color, to have a career, to balance all that with all these expectations, everything we see on social media, on the news, the television commercials, everything is so perfect. And the bar is set for us to honestly be there. And I struggled with that. I still struggle with it. So this is why I'm doing this part of my journey. Um, we always see the highlight reels, right? We never really see the real life anymore. Even our news is so filtered and so edited to either make it look really, really bad or make it look really, really good. There's really no in between. So this is it. This is the real talk about the messy and accepting that it's okay to be messy. And I remember distinctively, right, growing up military kind of brat. My dad retired when I was younger, so I didn't have to live through what my sisters went through. But I distinctively remember my mom kind of gathering her friends and having these quote unquote Avon parties where, one lady had a side hustle and she's trying to make her money, would bring the kid over to, the house, and all of a sudden, this group of about 10 to 15 ladies, all throughout their Marlboro Lights 100s, okay, and start smoking, start chatting. They're trying on lipsticks, they're beating the face. And they're really talking about everything. How hard it is to raise kids, how hard it is to be a military wife, husbands in the field, husbands on deployment. While you've got that going on, you've got your own family to deal with. You're in a foreign country, or you're doing this, you're doing that. And there wasn't cell phones. You can't just throw out a text. You weren't in the group chat. You actually had to converse face to face. And I remember, how cool is this? Eavesdropping from like the kitchen or the bedroom where all the kids were supposed to be watching The Little Mermaid, but really we're all just eavesdropping on the conversations our moms were having while they're trying on these cool lipsticks. And really, that's kind of what got us in trouble with playing in our moms' makeup bags, right? So stuff we had no business listening to, but we did. And that has created kind of that core memory for me. my mom was a part of this community where they could just talk about stuff, no matter how heavy, no matter what the circumstances were. If you cried, if you laughed till you cried, or if you got pissed off and slammed the door and left, there was no judgment about it either. They all seemed very positive, and then they all left looking so pretty. So I want to bring that back, that realness back into the world. Now, in my intro, I did mention Oprah and Ricky Lake. Now, these two women really ingrained memories into my head in the 90s. I feel like their shows really educated me. I learned so much about the LGBTQ plus community. I learned so much about um, people of color, my own color. I've learned so much about my own race and ethnicity through these kind of shows. Um, Even on the darker side, it was interesting to see some of these, white supremacists or these racists or these very conservative people go up on stage and talk about their views. Now, it did get pretty judgy on the shows, you had a live audience, things like that. But it was so interesting to see the world through other people's eyes. And again, we had no business. We had no business probably watching half of these shows. But again, as millennials, we drank from the water hose and we watched Jerry Springer after school, and our parents didn't give two shits because they knew we would know better or we better act right or it would be our asses. So, we were allowed to watch these things, or our parents didn't really care. And in some cases, my older sisters would let us stay up late on the weekends and we'd munch on saltines and butter and watch weird Jerry Springer episodes. Yeah, probably shouldn't have done that. But again, older sisters that were like, whatever. You'll come out tougher in the end. I don't know what their thought process was. Maybe I'll bring her on and ask her. Um, so that's kind of like my why into everything. And again, I want to bring that realness back. I want us all to learn from each other, to create a community where we don't feel so judged or we don't feel like we have to hit that bar every time. And I really want us to learn where to set our bar at. The bar can always change. The bar doesn't have to stay at 90% of the time. The bar doesn't have to stay at 72%. Or, it can fluctuate. We set the bar where we want to set the bar. And again, I really want this to be unfiltered. I want it to be honest. I want us to laugh about it. I want us to cry about it if we need to. We're going to have tough conversations sometimes. Again, I want to talk about parenting. I want to talk about marriage. I want to talk about careers. Um, and just how you can thrive in those areas without feeling like you have to be perfect all the time because you don't. Perfection is something we seek, um, but it's not always achieved, and we have to learn to be okay with that. I have a German Shepherd, y'all, if you heard him sneeze. Um, I want us to be okay with all of this. I want us to figure it out together. I want you to take this journey with me. Now, I want to use this example of staying real versus what we see in the highlight reel, because I think this really kind of defines what I'm achieving. Most of us, majority, have been to Disney World, Disneyland, and it's so great. We post on Instagram and Facebook and TikToks of how wonderful that trip is, how magical it is. But really, behind the scenes, we all know, or at least in my case, I've almost been divorced 5 times before 9 a.m. I probably almost walked out and left to a foreign country where I can't be extradited. I don't even know. Yelled at my kids probably a few times. We're all in tears by the time we're driving through the Welcome to the Magical World of Disney sign. we're probably all in tears until we get to see the castle, which then we're still in tears. So then I go and post everything. Oh, my family's at Disney World and it was oh so great. And everybody's like, oh, what a wonderful trip you had. Not knowing the 9 circles of hell I had to go through to make this magical highlight reel. So I want to be really real with y'all and laugh with y'all. So that's my true life example of how I want low key thriving to be. Because we still had the best time at Disney World and we still lived our best lives. It's always a vibe. But you kind of have to go through hell to reach that golden gate. You know what I mean? It makes it so much sweeter. So, anyways, that's kind of why we're doing this. Now, who the hell are you listening to? Who am I? So, my name is Melissa. Some of y'all know me as Mel. I've kind of rebranded, gone through that nickname. My in-laws actually gave me that nickname. Why, I don't know. It just kind of popped up. So, anyways, I'm Mel, your girl Mel G, and I am 36 years old. Again, I kind of fit in that millennial range. And I'm biracial. I am African American slash black. I don't know. I'm learning to use the PC terms. Again, this is a journey we're all going on. I plan on educating myself and the community about, what's acceptable these days. And I'm also German. So, yes, my mom is very foreign. If you've ever got to meet Miss Marianne Williams, you know, you just know. They raised 3 girls and a boy. So I have 3 older sisters. One is technically my half sister. My mom had a teenage pregnancy. So my sister Marion is actually 20 years older than me. Grew up not with us, but alongside us. She decided to stay and grow up in Germany, which is cool. So I've got half my family over there. And my oldest sister Natalie passed away about 2 years ago. And then I've got my sister Michelle. I've got my brother Doug. I am married to a wonderful, wonderful, good looking, super pain in the ass husband, Jonathan. Y'all all know J Rock, or you'll get to know J Rock. He'll be on here too. I'm gonna drag him on. He's been my biggest fan, biggest advocate to get this done. I love him. We've been together for 17 years now. So he's gotten to see all the fun stages of me, and we've gotten to go through all of the early stages of married life, coupled life. I don't know. We still have many, many more years to go through and figure this out. I think we've been divorced 20 times, broken up 15. Who knows? Anyways, I love the guy. We are raising 3 wonderful young ladies. Our oldest is 11. She is a D1 All-Star cheerleader. We're going through tryout season-ish now. So, we'll talk about stuff like that too. My middle child is 7, going on 16. She has total middle child syndrome. And fun fact, I'm going to come out of the closet here. I had postpartum depression with her, something I still kind of deal with on a daily, which is crazy and interesting. And we'll get into that in later episodes. But again, tough conversations to have. And that was really hard for me to say. A lot of people don't know that, pretty much outside of my marriage. So, getting a little choked up there. So yeah, having those conversations, talking about it because I feel like we don't talk about it enough. And then I've got our youngest, our Luna Love. Um, she's a total pandemic baby, bored in the house, bored in the house, bored in 2020. And God had plans for us. So, raising 3 girls in this day and age, trying to figure it out. I am also very career driven. I'm a Capricorn, y'all. So I've got goals, I've got standards, and sometimes I set the bar way too high. Um, so now you know a little bit about me. So what can you expect from this? Again, I plan on dropping episodes twice a month, many episodes in between, just for those little drops of wisdom, sometimes just to laugh. And I really want to also involve San Antonio, y'all. We are in one of the greatest cities in the United States. That may just be my opinion, but I love this town. It's so special to me. I call it home. I want to highlight those low key spots around town, maybe once a month. And again, I really want to build a community. I want to hear from you. I want to involve you. I want to know ways you low key thrive. I want to know how you count your successes, how you measure success. I really want to get to know y'all and learn from y'all. And I want other people in the world to learn from you. Everybody has a unique story, everybody has a unique perspective, and I want to bring that all together. Now, what I love about low key thriving and what I love about how surviving is just thriving on the low key is we don't need that validation. And that's my journey. I always seek some kind of validation. Did I do good? Was that okay? How do I measure this? Again, maybe Capricorn syndrome. I don't know. But sometimes my own validation is just enough. I don't need to be here for the comments. I don't need 50 comments on a post. As Mel Robbins said, or at least I saw this on TikTok, it's like my social medias, my feeds, they're not for you. They're for me. This is my journey, and I'm just dragging y'all all along with it, right? We're heading on over to the Love Shack in my bus, my imaginary VW wagon that fits all 5 billion of us, right? So I'm doing this for me, but taking you along with me. And we're gonna let sometimes being over the top doesn't mean having to be perfect, or you define what it means to be over the top. I am extra, I am loud. You know me when I walk into a room. Um, but it's about me and it's my journey and it's your journey as well. And we're just kind of going through it and we're just going to vibe and we're going to figure it out together. And we're going to thrive low key. So thank you for tuning in. I am looking forward to doing this with you again. Look for the new episodes. Follow me on Instagram. I'm going to try and be really consistent about it. Really happy to have chatted with y'all. Looking forward to doing more, looking forward to bringing you on, looking forward to talking, laughing, crying, peeing in our pants. Who the hell cares? We're gonna do it. We're gonna thrive. It's gonna be a vibe. Low key.
Artlist.io. Music licensing.